Hey there, Yarnpreneurs. Jess here. Happy Friday. I'm so sorry I'm a little late. I was having some technical difficulties. I will remember that I have to do live videos in Chrome and not Safari, so it always takes me a minute once I realize that. I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to kind of realize that we're going live, make sure they get their notifications. I'm going to take a quick second here to share the link in the event, just so everybody has it available to them, to make sure that everyone who wanted to be here gets a chance to hop on in and be a part of the conversation. Hi, April. Yay, so glad you made it. As you guys come in, feel free to say hi. Let me know how the weather is in your part of the world or the country, wherever you are. I'm in New Jersey, and it's kind of gray and rainy today. Not my favorite weather in the world, considering it was sunny and 70 degrees a few days ago. But you share what's going on in your part of the world. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Kristen. All right, so we've got some people rolling in. I'm really excited about this topic. Not gonna lie, kind of did this on a whim. I wanted to have a deeper discussion based on a thread that Kristen actually started. But I saw a really good conversation starting to happen. I saw a lot of different opinions and sides and beliefs and values and all kinds of things coming out. And I thought it would be a really good conversation to have, since it does seem to be a topic that everyone has their opinion on. Everyone kind of does this differently in their business. If you didn't get a chance in the event for this chat, I actually posted a poll, and it should show up in the discussion under the event. So if you didn't get a chance, the question was, or you can feel free to just shoot your question in here. I see a few people answered it. The question was, do you currently offer your patterns for free? And your options are yes, but just some of them. Yes, you offer all of them for free, or no, you don't have any free patterns, and all of them are paid. Hey, Sarah. All right, you're in Toronto. Gray and rainy too, twinsies. Oh, at least it's a little warm though. Good. Yeah, I was wearing flip-flops on Wednesday, and now I'm back to boots. So not really a fan of that, but I mean, my boots are cozy, but I prefer flip-flops. April, Pacific Northwest, finally got our winter storm. 3 days, a little bit of snow. I'm not gonna lie. Good for you. I'm glad it's not snowing here. I think we're done with the snow here. I'm hoping the snow. I'm a summer baby. The snow and me do not mix. Chris, just some of your patterns are free. Okay, interesting. Gray here in Looneyville. Sarah, haven't gotten out of my winter boots here yet. The snow is finally starting to melt, so now it's just slush. Well, that's good. You're getting there. You're getting there. April, it was in the 60s last week, snow this week. Yeah. Johnny, it's snowing in Estonia. Oh man. I feel like a lot of the answers are snow. Like a lot of people have snow. And so I'm just glad that it's raining here and not snowing here. And I hope if you are somewhere where it's snowing that you like snow. And if you don't, cozy up with some yarn and just try and wait until it passes. All right, so it seems like we have a pretty good amount of people here. If you guys, this event, this video also should be pretty public. So if you want to share this with anyone who you think might be interested in the conversation, feel free to shoot them the link or invite them to join us. But I'm going to get started. So I'm going to stop looking at the comments for a few minutes while I kind of monologue, and then I'll go back and read them later and answer any questions. If you have any questions while I'm talking, feel free to put them in the comments and I will come back to them. because I just want to make sure that I can concentrate while I'm trying to do my little speech here. Okay, so we're talking about free versus paid patterns. Now, this is kind of the eternal debate for designers. Do I offer my patterns for free? Do I offer them for a fee? If I offer them for a fee, what is that fee? If I offer them for free, how do I make money? If I do a mix, what does that look like? So there's a lot of factors, there's a lot of variables that go into this decision. So I thought to break it down, the best way to do this is I'm going to start with the pros of both free patterns, offering your patterns for free and offering your patterns for money. And then I'm going to close with the cons, and then we'll kind of overview and talk about, how that looks for you and your business. So if we start with the pros of free, okay? Everybody loves free. It's free patterns tend to be more shareable, right? So if you come across a free pattern that you think is a really well-written pattern, or it's a good pattern, or it's a fun pattern, or whatever that looks like, you're more likely to share it. Okay, that gives the designer maybe a little more exposure. Free patterns are also a great way to get traffic to your site or your social media. It's a great way to kind of bring people in the door. Okay, so free is an amazing buzzword, right? Everybody loves free. No one's going to turn it down. So on the pro side for free patterns, your major pros are just, no one's going to turn down free. Everyone's going to hear free and be like, yep, I'm all over that. And then they'll even maybe go the extra step of, hey, I'm going to share this, or, I'm going to put some effort into kind of spreading this free pattern around because it's free, which makes it ironically valuable. And then we have our pros of our paid patterns, right? So a pro for a paid pattern, well, you get paid to create it. And the pros there are your work is valued differently. Okay, a lot of people have different connotations when they think about paid patterns. Subconscious or conscious, they will perceive it as having higher quality, more value, and most likely they might share it for themselves, but they will inspect it first. Most of us, when we purchase a pattern, have higher expectations, both of quality and value, and we'll purchase the pattern, and then we'll look at it and be like, okay, does this live up to my expectations of what an X dollar pattern should be like? And if it does, if it passes that test, usually we will, take that extra step and share it. Not the pattern itself, but the fact that the pattern can be purchased. If you're sharing patterns that you paid for, that's not cool. Okay, so those are the major pros. Pros of free being, it's just a great way to get some traffic, to get some shareability, to get your name out there, to have something that draws people in immediately, because most people see the word free and they have a gut reaction to it. It's like, okay, I want that, even if I don't need it, even if whatever, it's free, why not? That's the rationality that most people have. For paid patterns, while it's a little bit more difficult to get people to have that same gut reaction of, I want it, they will have a higher perceived quality and value, and obviously you make money from them, so that's always handy. Cons of free patterns. Con A, you're not making any money off of them. Now, some people argue, I offer free patterns, I get paid for advertising. Yes, that is a way to make money from free patterns. That is a way to monetize free patterns or a set of free patterns. It is more difficult to monetize. It is solely based off of extremely large amounts of traffic. And I will tell you right now that I have contacts who have free offerings and have extremely large amounts of traffic, and they still do not make a livable wage off of their advertising income. Okay, so that's con number one, right? You're not making money off of the free patterns. Con number two is the opposite of the pro for paid patterns. They usually have a lower perceived quality and value. Everyone kind of has the mindset of it's free for a reason. Okay. So that can be hard to combat as a designer. That again, whether it's conscious or subconscious, the perceived value of something that's being offered for free. So those are some cons for free patterns. Some cons for paid patterns. They can be harder to market and sell. Again, you're asking people to get over that barrier of they have to make a decision. Is this worth my money or not? Some other cons of paid patterns, you have to have an infrastructure set up to sell them. Now, yes, there are platforms like Etsy, Ravelry, Craftsy, things like that. If you want to have retain full rights and kind of keep everything under your own umbrella and be able to sell them on your own site, you do have to set up some infrastructure. It does take a little more, kind of setup involved in making sure that you have the ability to do that. So those are the major pros and cons for selling paid patterns or giving away free patterns. Now, whenever I hear this conversation get started, whenever I see any yarnpreneurs commenting or asking or offering their opinions on this particular topic, I like to think and make sure that they have their objectives and their foundation in mind. I talk a lot about the golden circle. I talk a lot about understanding your why. And I do it because it makes these decisions a lot easier. It also means that you have a foundation to build a strong business on. And that platform gives you a place to really not only make these decisions a lot easier, but make sure that you're going down the correct path for your objective and your end goal and what you're trying to achieve with your business. Okay? Everyone is going to have different objectives. Everyone has a different why. Everyone has something different that they want out of their business. Okay? But at the end of the day, it is still a business. If you want to call yourself a yarnpreneur, one of your goals, one of your objectives is to bring in revenue. Okay? No matter how kind-hearted you are, no matter how much you love what you do, no matter how passionate you are, if you want to call it a business, if you want to consider yourself a yarnpreneur, you have to make revenue. Okay? So in understanding your objectives, you can much easier decide if you want to offer free patterns, paid patterns, or a mix of both. Okay? If you do not understand your objectives, if you do not know your why, if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, it will be extremely difficult to understand the differences, the pros and cons between this, and how they play into your goals. Okay? So let's take an example. Let's just say I am a yarnpreneur and I have a day job. Okay, so I only have a certain amount of time that I can spend on my business. And I really enjoy making amigurumi patterns. Okay. Now I would like to transition out of my day job in the next year or two. So one of my goals, one of my objectives would be to make a certain amount of money so that I can do that, so I can replace my income from my job, hopefully above and beyond what I was making at my day job. and, fully rely on my skills as a yarnpreneur to support myself. Okay. Now, with that goal, with that objective in mind, it would be very difficult for me to say it's a good idea to offer free patterns. Even if we monetize them in other ways, such as through advertising. From my experience, again, I will share, I know people who have tons of traffic and they still do not make a livable wage with their advertising. Okay. So with that knowledge in mind, I'm going to make sure, okay, free patterns are not for me. Now, one of the uses of free patterns, and this is where I like to encourage people to understand the complete spectrum, okay? Because if I just said, okay, I can't make money off of advertising, enough money off of advertising to replace my day job to achieve my objective, I can't do it that way. I'm not going to offer free patterns at all. I am missing out on an opportunity that free patterns provide, okay? The opportunity being all of the things listed under the pros column for those free patterns. Free patterns provide a great, again, that initial, people see the word, they want to be involved, okay? Now, free patterns, in my opinion, should be offered in exchange for something. The common exchange is for an email address. Okay, so in my case, I'm trying to replace my day job. One of the ways I can do it is by building an email list and then being able to sell to that email list. And the best way to build an email list is to offer something to people for free. So if I give them a free pattern in exchange for their email address, it feels more like an even exchange, right? They're getting something for free. I'm getting something for free. And it is reciprocal. Okay, so not only does it have the benefit of I get the email address, but it does have the benefit of there are actual psychological benefits for giving something up in exchange for something as opposed to just taking something with no consequences. Okay, so as human beings, there are psychological triggers that we experience when we actually exchange something. Now, technically, we're still getting it for free as far as money goes, right? But we're not getting it completely free and clear because we are exchanging our email address for the product, right? The free pattern. Okay, so that exchange is a little more on the even side. Now, if I was going to do this, the only way I would offer a free pattern in exchange for an email address is I would pick a pattern, right? So they don't get to just choose any random free pattern from my library, right? They get a specific pattern for free, and that is the only one that I offer for free, right? They don't get to take one of my $5 patterns and get it for free. They get a pattern for free, but it's the one that I have decided that I would like to offer for free. Okay, so the customer is not making that choice. So that's kind of a good way to balance having an offer of a free pattern while technically it's free monetarily. It is not 100% free because they are offering their email address in exchange, and you are getting value from that exchange as well, in the form of obviously, growing your list and having the ability to sell to that list and market to your email list. Okay, so in my opinion, that is the best way to offer free patterns. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and this kind of fits into understanding your objectives, understanding your why, and kind of defining your goals and understanding where it is that you want to go. I like to look at defining success. I have a few angles that I like to go at this from. The first being, I believe that each of us needs to understand what success is for us. regardless of what anyone else is doing, regardless of the perceived success of anyone that we see on social media or online. We need to understand what success means to ourselves if we were in a bubble. Okay, so if you were in a bubble and the outside world did not exist, what is your measure of success, right? What does success mean to you? Okay. For me, I can tell you right now, personally, and I'm sharing this completely 100% honestly with you, success means doing what I love for a living. It means freedom, having control of my schedule, okay, and where and when I work. And it means being able to provide for myself and support myself financially and have the freedom to do the things that I enjoy. Okay, so those are my 3 markers of success. That is my personal definition of success. I do not define success. I don't define anyone else's success just by looking at them through social media or through the lens of my laptop. Unfortunately, I have had unfortunately or fortunately, I have had the privilege of speaking to a lot of people in this community that have perceived success. And I can tell you right now that 99% of them are not as successful as you think they are if you're thinking financially. Or it's a lot harder, like a million times harder to achieve the success that you perceive from the other side of the lens. So I can tell you firsthand that if you're looking at someone, and I'm, not going to pick anyone out, but if you're looking at someone and you think that they are successful, they very well might be. And it just is a lot harder than you think to get there. Or you're looking at someone and you think they're successful and they're really not, because it is very hard to be successful in this industry. Again, that depends on your definition of success. If we're talking about monetary only, we have a very different conversation. If we're talking about, are these people happy? Do they love what they're doing? Are they enjoying their work? The answer is probably 99% of the time, yes. Okay. So I just like to caution people to be careful about others' perceived success and to understand what their success is. Again, if you don't have your own personal definition of success, you will never know if you've gotten there. Okay. Me personally, I'm about 80% of the way there. I've got most of what I perceive, what I want my success to be, I've got about 80% of it. Okay. And I'm totally honest about that, right? The financial is not where I want it to be right now, but everything else, I'm all there. So if you understand your definition of success, you can much easier set up some objectives, understand your why, and know if you should be offering free or paid patterns or a mix of both. Okay. So let me scroll back through the comments real quick, and then I have a bunch of pre-submitted questions from everyone that I'm gonna go through. I have them written down, and then if you guys have any questions based off of everything I went over, shoot them through. Okay, Sarah says, my patterns are mostly paid. I've got one self-published pattern for free, plus a pattern in a third-party publication that's free. Okay, very good. Hey, Amanda's here. Kim is here. Hi, Kim. Hi, Amanda. Amanda Woodbury and Amanda Pippin. Hey, guys. All right, so I hope everyone kind of understood everything I talked about. If you have any questions, I'm going to get started on the pre-submitted questions. Okay, so Chris asked, I have patterns that I have posted for free on a blog that I will be closing. Is there a good way to get them to a new website when I get that up and running? Should I leave that blog running and direct folks to the new website? I'm seriously thinking about a reintroduction of those patterns at the new website, and I want to charge for those patterns. Is that a bad idea? Should I keep them for free? Okay, there's a few questions in there. So I'm going to answer them in order. Is there a good way to get the patterns to a new website when you get them up and running? This is all kind of predicated on how much traffic you get to those patterns. Okay, so how popular was your old blog? Do you still have daily traffic to those patterns? And do you think that daily traffic is valuable enough for you to warrant trying to keep it? Okay, if one person is looking at these patterns every 3 months, don't bother. If 100 people are looking at these patterns every day, that might be worth it. Okay, so you have to kind of analyze your traffic first and understand, is anyone looking at these old patterns, and is it worth it for me to try and capture those people and bring them along in the new journey? Okay, if it is, the best way to do that is to set up a redirect. Okay, so you would want to, if you insist on hosting them on the new site as well, I mean, you could always just kind of keep the old site running. So you have a few options. You could keep the old site running and just kind of let it go. You can create a new call to action or new something on that old site that kind of directs people to the new site, or you could set up an actual redirect where if someone hits the link from the old site, it directs them to the new version on the new site. That being said, you have to maintain ownership of the old site to be able to do that redirect. Okay, so that's step one. Seriously thinking about a reintroduction. Okay, so if you want to charge, if you want to start charging for the patterns, again, this is all kind of predicated on if you think the traffic is valuable enough to keep around, or if you kind of just want to scrap it. If you scrap it, great. Reintroduce the patterns for whatever amount you want, and kind of pretend that this never happened. If you do want to keep that traffic, I would set up a redirect on the new site and maybe put an explanation as to why you're going to start charging for them. Or, you know, if you think no one's going to really, I wouldn't even put up an explanation. I don't think that's necessary. I would, you know, put the patterns together, make them look gorgeous and professional, and charge for them and call it a day. So I hope that answered all of your questions. I think I got everything. Okay, Amanda's question. From a marketing standpoint, wouldn't giving away a free pattern get more traffic to my site or page? Yes, free patterns are great for traffic. If we want to get advanced here, what type of traffic, right? So free patterns are great at attracting people that want free. Those people that want free are not always the easiest to convert to paying customers, right? So if we're talking about qualified leads here, we're talking about people who already have a predisposition to want to pay for something if they paid for something in the first place, right? But if they came in on free, they're harder to convert to paying customers, if that makes sense. Okay, so yes, free patterns are great for traffic. Again, you have to do it strategically, and you have to think about what it is that you want to get from that audience, okay? Because yes, that audience will be harder to convert. So if you're offering a free pattern, again, I really recommend that you do not devalue your work. If you're giving it away for free, get something in exchange, some kind of value. An email address is, you know, obviously the most commonly used and kind of the easiest to think of. Okay, so get some kind of value exchange, even if it's not money. All right. Johnny had a question. If we were to use free patterns as a way to drive traffic, what is the best strategy for capitalizing on that traffic? Okay, so that's kind of what I just said, right? So if you're using free patterns as a strategy to drive traffic, like Amanda was asking, how can you best capitalize on that traffic? There's a few ways. One, make sure that your website is optimized for conversions. Conversions being a purchase or a lead, a sign up to your email list. Okay, so if someone gets to your site because you offered a free pattern. Let's say you posted on Instagram, I got this free pattern, go to my site to grab the free pattern. They go to your site, okay? You do not want to lose that person, that traffic, okay? So you want some sort of value from them, okay? Either a social share. So there are plugins that you can use that allow you to offer pages on your site or a PDF or something for free in exchange for a social share. So the person would have to come to your site and say, man, I really want this free pattern. Okay, I'm going to share it on Instagram and then I get the pattern for free. So again, a value exchange of some kind. Or they give their email address and, you know, they get the pattern. Again, another value exchange, right? So you want to think about, okay, what is the value that I can get from this transaction? They're getting the pattern as their value from the transaction. And then how can I best optimize that page for that conversion, okay, for that transaction? So when someone hits the page, your website is directing them to do whatever it is that you want them to do. They're not just coming onto your site, viewing the pattern and walking away, okay? So again, optimize and pay attention to, you know, what you want that traffic to do on your site. Because traffic, you can get traffic all day long, and you know, traffic will always be coming into your site if you're marketing properly. But if you don't have anything to do with that traffic, if you don't direct them anywhere, if you don't have a conversion, if you don't have them doing something, okay, it's not valuable to you. It might be valuable to them, but it's not valuable to you. And what we want to do is we want to try to even the exchange. Okay, another question from Johnny. If I don't want to give away free patterns, what other ways can I drive traffic to my site and or use to get people to sign up for my email list? Okay, so again, if you want to create those transactions, signing up for your email list, driving traffic to your site, but you don't want to offer free patterns, all of your patterns are paid, okay? You can use other types of value. Blog posts are a great way to get traffic to your site, but those blog posts have to have value, okay? They have to be shareable. People have to want to click on them. And then you can use other types of promotions or marketing tactics, like doing, you know, giveaways or collaborations or things like that. So other ways to get traffic in does not just have to be free patterns, okay? You can have paid patterns as your entire catalog, and still all of these principles still apply, okay? Let's see. Okay, one more from Johnny. How do I know how to properly price my patterns if I want to move toward offering paid patterns so that I am not underselling my work and getting fairly compensated for my effort? Okay, so this is a big one. If you are offering free patterns or paid patterns, be specific about your pricing, okay? The current trend, now, unfortunately, crochet patterns are usually undervalued. Knit patterns usually have a higher perceived value. The knit world seems to perceive patterns a little bit differently. So knitters usually can get away with higher prices. Crochet patterns, the average right now is around $3 to $5. Okay. Knit patterns, again, probably $5 to $9 is the average there. Okay, so to figure this out, what you'll want to do is take your expertise out of the equation, okay? I see too many yarnpreneurs starting to price their work low because they've just gotten started, okay? That's a bad idea. If your work is of quality, which it should be if you're offering patterns, no matter what, okay? Your work should be professional, of quality, hand-tested, tech-edited, all that good stuff, good photography, all of your information on your style sheet, like all of that needs to be there absolutely no matter what. Do not start pricing your patterns at $2 because you're new. Okay. Again, we're talking about perceptions here. So people are going to perceive that as lower quality, and they're going to take on that perception of, oh, she's just new. She's just getting started out. I don't really think this pattern is going to be that great. It was only $2. Okay. And that is not what you want at all on any level. Okay. So look at the average for your industry. If you're a crochet designer or a knitwear designer, look at your average, understand what you would need to do in a month to achieve your monetary goals. If you need to make $1,000 a month and your patterns are $2, that's a lot of patterns. Okay. So you kind of have to balance the average in your market, and then figure out what you need to achieve. Again, this is not a business if you're not making revenue, right? So if your goal is $1,000 a month, you may need to price your patterns at $5. And yeah, it will be harder to sell them in the beginning, mostly because you might not be using the correct tactics, or if you have an audience that you've already kind of primed to not pay more than $2, they're not going to want to pay you $5. Some of them will make that leap. So you have to kind of balance that. So I would look at your monetary goals, the average in your industry, and understand what your audience is primed to pay for. Now, if you have a current audience and they're used to free patterns, you might not convert a lot of them, and you're going to have to be okay with that because you're going to have to start building a new audience. Okay. All right. The last of the pre-sent in questions, and then I'm going to get back to what you guys were writing up on here. Jamie said, some designers offer free patterns made with a particular yarn and get paid by the manufacturer to do so. Do you know how they get started with this? How much they make? The best way to get started, if you want yarn support, if you want to work with specific yarn companies, if you want to kind of have that relationship, the best way to get started is to start writing quality patterns and then initiate those conversations with the companies. They are not going to come to you. It is very, very rare that the yarn company will come to someone and say, I want you to do X, Y, Z. Okay. They need initiative. They need you to go to them and say, I have an idea for this pattern. I think your yarn would be great for it. Will you send me some? Now, that being said, 99% of those transactions are not monetary. They are simply yarn support. Maybe a little bit of advertising. Maybe like a, hey, we'll put your pattern in our newsletter, or we'll share it on social media. 99% of the time, the designers are not getting paid to use that yarn. They're simply just getting the yarn, which is great. You know, that's, I know designers that literally do not pay for yarn ever. They get yarn support for everything that they do. And that is a great perk, but it is not a career. Okay. It is not a sustainable way to build an entire business. It can be a bonus. It can be fun. It can be a good extra way to kind of, you know, support your habit. But 99% of the time, those designers are not getting paid. The designers that work with yarn companies regularly and do get paid for things like the patterns that are on yarn labels and things like that, you have to build a rapport with a company first. You have to have worked with them on that lower level for a while before they'll kind of, you know, ask you to do other things. Okay. So start here if that's something that you want. But again, be clear about what you want. Understand your objectives, because what yarn companies value is someone who provides quality work on time and that they don't have to handhold and babysit, because they don't have time for that. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Jamie. Okay, let me scroll back up here and, all right. Kristen, I do feel almost successful giving mine away for free. I'll admit I've made $200 off ads, and that's just not enough for a year. but I love what I'm doing and I'm building momentum. But you're right, Jess, I need to find other creative ways to earn money. Yes, $200 a year is obviously not enough to compensate for your time. And again, this, I understand, and I understand more than most, that everybody here loves what they're doing, right? We're all so passionate about what we're doing. We're like, we'll do this for free. No, you shouldn't be doing this for free because it's a business. If I could pass one thing on, I would like to help people learn to separate the passion from the paycheck. Now, it is amazing. It is the coolest feeling in the world to be able to make money from something you love. But the only way to do that is to initially separate the two, right? We have to take the passion out of the equation so that we can make a paycheck, so that we can put the passion in and say, hey, we're making a paycheck from something we're passionate about. That's fantastic. Okay. So yes, Kristen, think about some other ways that you will monetize and how you will even out the time for money ratio, right? Because blogging is extremely time consuming and $200 is fantastic, but it's not enough. You're worth more. Sarah, I'm using Patreon as an additional source of income. Very limited so far, but I knew that going in. But I was wondering if anyone else had any experience thoughts. Yeah, I know a few people who are actually pretty successful with Patreon and are doing well. Again, it all goes back to cultivating an audience of people who believe what you believe and understand, you know, what it is that you're trying to do and are so passionate about what you're creating that they're willing to compensate you fairly for it. So it's the same principle on a different platform. April, question for the solopreneur, someone who is doing everything themselves, designing, tech editing, testing, etc. Knowing that people have higher expectations for paid patterns, would it be beneficial to start out with free or free with email exchange, then move to paid once you have more experience and are creating patterns that live up to people's expectations? I'm going to be harsh with this one. Figure out how to get your quality up there now. I understand that there's a little bit of a learning curve involved. Obviously, everyone grows and gets better over time and all that kind of stuff. Yes, people have higher expectations for paid patterns. As a solopreneur, I would encourage you to reach out to the community for aspects like tech editing and pattern testing. There are, again, value exchanges, not monetary exchanges, but value exchanges that can happen for those kinds of things to bring your quality up higher. I don't recommend that anyone tech edits and tests their own patterns. It's just not possible. We can't separate ourselves from the pattern itself. I don't tech edit because I'm horrible at it. I used to hand test my own stuff as well. But there's something to be said for another set of eyes. And again, you do not have to have a monetary exchange with these people for another set of eyes. It's preferable because usually you'll get higher quality work. But there are value exchanges that can happen for that. So I would recommend, for a few reasons, I wouldn't start out all of your patterns free until you get better. Okay. I would push yourself to get better as quickly as possible. So I hope that helps. And you can do it. It's just a matter of, right, setting your mind to this is what needs to happen. So, okay, what are my goals for making my patterns better? Christine, I understand the free with opt-in, but what are your thoughts on some basic free ones on your blog just to draw traffic? Yeah, again, what are you doing with that traffic? Right? Traffic is useless if you don't convert it into something else. You have to have something to do with it. Because, yeah, traffic is fantastic. We all want traffic. But if you're not getting anything from the traffic, it's not so exciting anymore. Yeah, so either do the opt-in, right? Or do something else. figure out how to convert them to, one of the other things that I like to do as an option, maybe instead of converting them to your email list, is they get a free pattern when they join your Facebook group. Okay, so you're getting them to, once they get to your site, the conversion is join the Facebook group, and they get a free pattern there. Heather, what are your thoughts on selling an ad-free version of a free pattern? I know people have had a lot of success with this. I think in some realms it works, and you just have to be very careful and specific about how you go about doing it. Again, this is all kind of predicated on your business model being mostly free. So if that's the route you're going, then yeah, $2, $3, $4 for an ad-free version of a pattern, I've heard works really well. And I would still encourage you to try and figure out how to create some sort of value exchange for those free patterns. So even the people that are not going to shell out for the ad-free version, you're getting something from them, right? Some sort of value exchange. Kristen, this is a little off topic, but can you do a bit on media kits sometimes, Jess? I would love to know your tips on this. Yeah, we can do that. I will make sure that I write that down so that I remember, because I have a mind like a sieve. Mary, is there a site where you can find a tech editor? The best place I've found to find tech editors is actually just posting in groups, in Facebook groups. I would also recommend that you ask for a personal recommendation for a tech editor, so that you make sure that you're getting someone that does quality work. But as far as I know right now, there are not any sites that I know of that you can just go on and search for a tech editor. Although I know Selena's working on something, wink, wink. But Selena's working on something for that. Sarah, second question, if you don't mind, of course. I have one self-published pattern that I offer for free, no email exchange, etc. I offer it so that people have the option to see how my patterns are written and structured. In a print book, you can flip through and see how the designer writes. You can't do that for digital patterns, okay? What I'm wondering, is there a way to know if this is working? Hold on, I'm scrolling. I'm hoping that people are looking at my free pattern and it's answering the question of how I write. I know a lot of people will simply take it because it's free, but is there a way to know how many people are converting from that free pattern to my paid patterns? Okay, I like the idea. And I do think it's interesting to kind of share a free pattern with people to give them the opportunity of kind of seeing if they like you as a designer, if they like the way you write, if they understand your style, that kind of stuff. Again, I wouldn't do it completely for free. And I would maybe a workaround for that is kind of providing on your site an excerpt from a pattern, or just a kind of, even just a post that just says, hey, this is how I structure my patterns. I like to do X, Y, Z, and I make sure to include this so that you can blah, 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 things like that. Maybe there's a way around kind of offering them an entire free pattern, and still getting the same kind of thing across. As far as knowing how many people convert from your free to your paid patterns, that is really dependent on the technology that you use to deliver these patterns, and the technology that you use to deliver the free patterns, and the tech you use to sell your paid patterns. Just taking your question at face value, probably not. You could ask. You could just email people and be like, hey, did you bought my pattern? Did you see my free pattern first? Like, is that how you came to me? Off the top of my head, that's probably your option right now, if you were really curious. Otherwise, it gets advanced. It gets into things like, tagging and Google Analytics and Facebook pixels and, conversion, like all that kind of stuff. which I can't answer here without seeing your tech and all that kind of stuff. So I hope that's helpful. Amanda, I'm writing stuff down for you. Oh, thank you. You rock, Amanda. Amanda's amazing. All right. Christine. Yes, Christine is a tech editor. I knew that there were some floating around in here. Yeah, so feel free. If you're looking for a tech editor, post in this group. I know that there's at least a handful. Stephanie. Tech Editor Hub Facebook group is a great place for finding tech editors. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so there's a Facebook group. I knew there was a few groups floating around. April, thanks. Harsh is good. Harsh but loving, I'm hoping. I've only published one pattern and it was free and I did it all myself. It was mostly just to give myself a kick in the pants and actually get it out there. Good. Yes, no stalling due to fear. Yes, just do it. I have so many ideas for my business and I know what I want to achieve, but I don't know how to actually get them to happen. Yeah, that is honestly everyone's, everyone kind of stalls there. So my advice to you is to keep pushing, keep trying, keep exploring, keep thinking about what it is that you want to do, but get specific on a step one, right? Dreams are amazing, but you need action steps to make them work, okay? Sarah, thanks. I actually like the idea of setting up a survey of how did you find me? Yeah, I mean, surveys are always fantastic just in general, just to ask people and also to build relationships, right? So we're talking about this, we're going to be talking about this in the Academy marketing course about building relationships. We talked about this in our live video, the 4 marketing fundamentals. Everyone skips number 3, which is building relationships, right? Amanda, are there sites that help with marketing? Thank you for correcting that because I would have been confused. Are there sites that help with marketing or is it an all on us deal? I know of maybe one site that helps with marketing, but again, it's predicated on you're going to have to pay us a crap ton of money, right? And I only know one out there that's helpful for creative businesses. As far as they will actually do work for you, okay? Now, while the Academy and what we do here at the Society will not do the work for you, we can certainly help you understand marketing and, what it is that you need to do to build and grow your business. That's kind of why we exist. So while there are not a ton of options for going out there and getting the work done, that's for a reason, right? I wholeheartedly believe that it is very important for us as yarnpreneurs to understand as many aspects of our business as possible and to be efficient and sufficient in doing them ourselves. And I believe this because no one is going to treat your business the way you treat your business. Okay. No one is going to understand your business and your goals and your dreams and your hopes and everything that you want to build the way you do. And that's, I kind of feel very passionate about that. And Amanda said she tagged you in a Tech Tuesday post. Yeah, because there are certainly a few tools that you can use to make posting on social media and things like that more efficient, easier, better, works better with your schedule, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would definitely check out the Tech Tuesday post that Amanda posted. All right, so if nobody else has any other questions, I need a drink of water. One more from April. Let's see. I've been asking questions in the crochet Facebook groups I'm in for market research. It's pretty insightful. That's how I discovered how people feel about free patterns and how so many of them feel designers don't need to be compensated. It definitely changed my views on providing completely free patterns. Yeah, this was actually a point that I forgot to bring up. There are, especially in the crochet industry, there is a perception among consumers that designing is not all that hard and that we shouldn't get paid for our time and effort in providing the value of patterns. when you encounter that, I encourage you to put on your loving shield and say to those people, that does not resonate with me. I know how much work goes into building and creating these patterns for people that care for them. If you do not want to pay for them, that is completely fine. There are people who will, and who will value my work. Okay. So you kind of have to put up that, you know, loving shield, as I call it, right? To understand the confidence in yourself that I know that what I do is worth what I'm, you know, offering it for. If you are not willing to pay, that is completely okay. There are people who will. Okay. So that is my defense for those. Amanda, don't get me started on that subject. Yeah. Yeah. So there will always 100% be the people who are not willing to pay. And that is okay. They are not your customers. They are not your audience. And those are not people that you should be wasting energy, time, or anything on. Okay. Because there are people out there who will. All right. I hope that this answered everyone's questions as far as free and paid patterns go. If you have any more questions, feel free to post them in the comments. And I hope this has been helpful. I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I hope to do more questions or more discussions like this. So if anybody has any topics that you would like to kind of go a little more in depth on, I would be happy to have some more conversations like this. This was super fun, and I'm glad everyone got a chance to hop on. For those of you watching in the replay, hello, and I hope you're enjoying it. I'll see you guys all for Tip Tuesday on Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me and for being a part of the Yarnpreneur Society. You are making my dream of success come true, so I really appreciate that. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.